Hey friends, welcome back to xoxo shop. So I am checking in because it has been like a really hard 24 hours, and I'm in one of those places where like I'm feeling really kind of swirly. You know what that feeling is? Like my thoughts can't find a landing place, and the one thing that I have been thinking about is that I know see, it's even hard to put thoughts together a little bit. I know what I want to do my next workshop on, um, which is a concept that Lizzi Brewer, who a lot of you know, um, introduced me to. And it's the idea of the mother wound, and the book by her name is Bethany Webster, um, who talks about this mother wound concept, which is like everything basically to do with how like the patriarchy has interrupted like our ability to like have a healthy sense of self, based on how it like its expectations of women in general, but also like the way that that plays out with like the interaction between our moms or primary caregiver, and like how until we're able to go to that and really like address it, we'll always have this like place of difficulty, that has to do with what like the mismatch between what we needed as kids and um, what we received, which has just been like just even saying like understanding just that very first level of it. When you hear something and you're like, oh yeah, that is what's happening. It feels so profound to me. So, anyways, I am in the midst of this really painful situation. I am feeling like, okay, this is really something I want to look into more. And recently, my own mom, who I have not had the most straightforward relationship with, there's been a lot of complications, although I really, really do believe that everything she's ever done has been because she was trying her best to love me. Um, so she recently, because of all this sewing I've been doing, cleaned out her sewing area and sent me some things, and then also sent me some things from my grandmother. One of which is this little doll. It's one of those dolls that has, like, you flip it and it's got two little children. Um, so yeah, she sent me this doll. Which, like, I feel mixed. I have mixed feelings about my childhood, so I feel mixed feelings about these childhood things. But what I'm doing right this second is this little dress has a little tear in it, so I'm just sewing that up. So I have this doll. I have these like 1950s style aprons that my great grandma made. This one. And I have this little quilt that my grandma made for like a baby doll, and then a couple of other baby doll type quilts. Um, and uh, so my concept is that I'm going to work on this. Let's see how I want to mend this. I'm going to work on this the other thing is the stuff that my grandma made, at least during this period of time that I have stuff from, all has a lot of it has hearts on it. So like you've seen this fabric before if you've seen my video. This was the fabric that she was making a quilt for me out of. And then she has like 2 other wall hangings that I have that have hearts on them like that. So my thought is that I'm going to use this as like a base, and I'm gonna do 4 hearts of like a bunch of random fabrics, sort of crazy quilted together. As I explore the 4 parts or aspects of the mother wound, which I think is really interesting. It's like your own personal, individual level mother wound in terms of your relationship with your primary parent. And then the cultural aspect of the mother wound, which is like how the patriarchy has affected us like through the culture, and then the spiritual aspect of the mother wound, and that's the one I find the most fascinating, especially the concept of like how the patriarchy model of many Judeo-Christian religions communicates that women are like only here to serve men and have babies, but also that that women are not allowed to like have a direct relationship with the God in whatever, whatever they call God in those different stories, which I think that is something that has been more painful for me than any other difficulties with like the humans that I have relationships with, was this idea that I was taught by my evangelical Christian upbringing that like I was not worthy of having a direct relationship, that I needed like a man to intercede for me, whether it be a father or a husband. And I think that alienation from my higher power has been one of the most painful things in this life for me, and one of the most powerful things that I've been able to do in my life is like reclaim that I do have a direct relationship with the idea of like universal consciousness and love, and that is like absolutely I am worthy of that, and that is like that can't be interrupted by anyone. No one has the right to take that away from me, and that in and of itself has just been like so huge for me. So anyways, that is my thought for the next workshop. I'm really looking forward to doing it and sharing it with you. I'm thinking it's going to be really helpful for me over the next week or so as I make it, as I deal with this really troubling situation in my personal life. And if anyone is willing to just send your love my way for this situation, I would so appreciate it. It's kind of one of those things where it's like I had a worst nightmare scenario in my head and that I have been scared of for the past decade, and it's happening. So, I think the really nice thing is that while I'm letting myself like feel pretty upset by it, because it's upsetting, I'm also like finally at a place where I really feel confident that like I have been through really hard things and I know how to do it, and I know how to access resources, and I trust in that process. So I don't feel anywhere near as scared as I would have 10 years ago. It's still really uncomfortable, but for the most part, I'm feeling really I'm sad, I'm grieving, and I'm worried about it, but I also feel like, okay, I know that I'm going to feel better. I know that this is not the end of the world, and I'm not feeling panic, which I'm really glad for, because I definitely would have in the past. And I'm like really able to recognize the ways in which I'm feeling guilt and blame for myself. And so I'm really aware of my desire to be gentle with myself with those feelings, because at the end of the day, I don't believe in that guilt or shame like are helpful. Um, and so I do feel grateful for that. And yeah. So anyways, that's my little update, and I'm glad to have a reason to like sort of get myself to take a seat, because I've kind of been doing the thing all day of like moving around the house, like trying to be like, oh, I should do the laundry, or like, oh, I should, and then like getting distracted and just sort of floating around because I'm feeling distress, and distress makes it hard to do anything. And really, like the best thing for me anyways in distress is to, sit quietly and be with my feelings, and sewing gives me that opportunity. So I'm glad for the, you know, um, option to sew with you all. I went to get ready to do this, and I thought there was like a piece missing on the little tripod that I have for the phone, and I was like, oh my word, I don't have the wherewithal to be able to look for that right now. What am I going to do about that? And then I figured out that it was just on, like, facing the wrong direction, so I couldn't see that it was actually there. It wasn't missing at all. So um, but I'm glad to be here with you all. I'm glad to be spending some time with this little doll that I have mixed feelings about. Kind of reminds me of how that video that Lizzi did about my grief workshop, where she shared the little dolls that her daughter had gotten for her recently, and that she's like using the one doll that's sort of shabby um, and rough around the edges as her inner child, and just being sweet to it. And I think that's really lovely, so wise. And I don't know yet that I can feel that level of connection with this doll, but I do know that I I really do appreciate my grandma. She was a survivor of um, pretty significant abuse, and watched her children be abused, and I don't know how she survived that. And I don't know how she like continued to have so much love and connection with people in her life amidst that. Um, so I do think she has a lot to teach me, and maybe spending time with these things that she made will help me to feel that wisdom. Um, and I know she stayed in a lot of really yucky situations because she didn't have options. Um, and so I don't want to be. Yeah, I want to do more like shifting in my life out of situations that I don't have to be in than she was able to, but I still think she has a lot to teach me about just how to like take care of yourself when you can't change a situation. And this situation that I'm in is one that I don't have a lot of power to change it. Um, so yep, here we are, friends, right? We were not promised an easy breezy life, were we? And I think especially when you have children, there's so many points at which it's like you can't just pick them up and make it better anymore. So send us some love, please, and I'm sending all of you lots of love, and I am excited to work on this workshop. I think it's going to be helpful for me to do a little bit more of a deep dive into the Motherwound material. I am going to order the book. I may not have read the book by the time I do the workshop, but I think just giving us this, I'm not going to be able to cover all the concepts in 5 videos, but I think just giving us the introduction to it will be nice. And none of these topics are things that it's oh, you're gonna watch 5 videos and you're gonna be fine. The grief workshop is not about finishing grief. Grief is there's always going to be, even if you come to a place where you feel like you're really resolved and have a lot of acceptance around one loss, life is never going to stop giving you losses. And I think the final work we do, even as we approach death, is to come to a place of acceptance about the final loss of our own lives. So that's a happy note. Oh my heavens. Isn't this little tiny lace beautiful? I don't know if you can see it. I'm pretty sure that's handmade lace. But it's just disintegrating here. This little tiny edge has come apart from it, so I'm just sewing it back on. I'm not sure that anybody would actually take the time to do that, but feels like a nice sort of not complicated way to spend some time with this doll. So I love you, and I hope you are taking good care of yourself, and sending you all lots of love, and send me some, please, and my kid, and especially I just am asking for wisdom to be in a really loving unconditional support type of a way with my kid, and not in a fix it mode, because I know that the energy of making it go away or get better is not of service to either of us, even though it's very tempting. But what I think on one hand, while I would love for everything to just be nice and fun and not complicated for my kid, I also know that that's not real. So I'd like to have my kid feel like I am there and loving amidst the reality that life is challenging and difficult, and that I'm on his team, and that I will do whatever feels supportive, but I don't need him to be happy and perfect. I just want him to know that he's not alone, and I just want to be a loving, supportive presence. So I really want, guidance on how to stay centered in that, and how to not try to, make it all better, and how to just sit with love and be a really loving, unconditional support. So I know I'm not going to do it perfect, and that's the other thing that I want to forgive myself. It's so tempting to be oh, this is all my fault, or I could have done it better, or whatever. So I'm trying to be very gentle, and I hope you do the same with whatever is going on in your life, because there's always something going on, isn't there? And am sending you all lots of love, and I will talk to you again soon. Take care.